Until now, we've been using a fairly simple editor called JGrasp to get to learn the nuances of programming in Java. You've learned how to be careful in how you name your variables, methods, and other constructs because spelling counts. You've also learned how to keep track of where you put your curly braces. You've also learned that if you don't indent or format your code consistently, it's hard to figure out what you've done until this point. Now that we're getting into more complex topics, it may help you to get your hands on a more complex editor. This video is going to cover Eclipse. There are so many features with Eclipse, it is sometimes easy to get lost. You definitely won't use most of the features it includes, even in the basic package. However, there are some features of Eclipse that will really shave off some time developing code. Without much ado, let's get into Eclipse. Here we see the basic view, the basic Java view perspective in Eclipse. The two perspectives that we're going to cover here are the Java perspective, you can see here in the upper right hand corner, and the debug perspective, which is over here. We'll get into the debug later on. This pane over this section is called the navigation pane. It will have all your source code, your packages if you have packages, and your projects. Also, if you have things like source code control or any other plugins that use navigation, they usually use this pane to navigate within your project. This large pane right here is your editing pane, which will be where you're creating and debugging your code. Down here below is where the output, console output is of your project, or other things like problems or issues that you might have, or perhaps some declarations. Anything that's being output usually shows up in the bottom hand. And finally, these two panes over here on the right hand side are where different plugins that you use will dock some of their additional UIs. So starting out, let's create a new project. I'm going to right click on here, create new Java project. This will open up the Java project editor, and we'll just create a test project, and we'll leave all the defaults as they are and hit finish. If we dig into that project, we can see that there is a source folder, src folder. This is where we will keep all of our files, all of our Java files, and the JRE system library where we have the default jars that are imported into your project by default. So we'll right click on the source folder and create a new class. Here we have a list of a whole bunch of different constructs like folders and other generic files, packages, and interfaces, but for this demonstration we'll create a new class. It'll also open the class wizard, and we won't create a new package, but we'll create a new run program class. By default, all classes inherit from Java-lang object. We are not going to cover inheritance in this video, but since this is a runner class, I'm going to create by default a static void main function, and I'm going to generate some Java comments. And let's see what happens here. I created my run program class. Here you can see the Java comments along with the void main feature. I want to save myself some time for this next feature and paste in some code that's obviously bad. Here you notice in this it's highlighting certain pieces of my code that are in error. Like you can see the ABC and int are backwards. It should be int before ABC, and there is no semicolon, string is not capitalized, and other issues. It notifies you that there's an issue with your code with these X's here in the margin, and with these issues, the squiggly lines underneath the items. So by hovering over, if I hover my mouse over one of these issues, it'll give me suggestions about how we can correct these issues. In this case, I want to create a local variable called ABC, so I let it do its magic and it switched these things around. And also here I can see that there's a missing semicolon. It doesn't give me a quick fix suggestion, but it does tell me that I need to insert a semicolon to complete the statement. So I do that, and when I do that, you'll notice that the X in the margin went away. Now, I'm going to highlight another issue. I'm going to hit Control S, which will save the file. And you'll notice a second feature of Eclipse. Here you can see that it automatically formatted the code that it was previously there. It added some curly braces for the for statement. It made sure that all the code was indented, and it also highlighted. If you notice, when I saved it, it created a little X here on this file, letting him know that I still have errors within my code here. So here I'm going to hover over this and let it suggest that I capitalize the string. And also here the variable val, I mistyped val. I really want string val, so I'll use the suggestion to change it to string val. I'll save that. And now I'm going to cover another feature of how to run this program. I have two options. I can go up here to the green circle here with an arrow to run the program, or I can go to the file, right click, go down to Run Java Application. For this demonstration, I'll just run it using this button up here. It'll run, and you'll notice that the program run down here. To save some more time, I have to highlight some of the other features. I'm going to import in a couple additional classes here. Here I have imported the item and the run shop. So to start here, I'm going to create a list of items. I'm going to use the Java util list. I'm going to create a list of items called cart, and I'm going to set it to a new array list of items and save that. Here I'm using Java generics to specify that I'm creating a list of items, not a list of array, not a list of ints or strings. I'm creating a list of items. Notice I still have some curly squiggly lines here where it does not know what a list is and what an array list is because I haven't imported them yet. Here I could either use the auto suggestion to import it, or I can hit Control-Shift-O, and that will automatically import up here all items that I didn't import before. So this is a quick way to automatically import the classes that we haven't directly specified. Here I'm going to create a new item, with item name, item price, and quantity. Now I want to output the object name of the item I just created. Now you'll notice here I have the item class, and I will want to access members of the item class. By pressing period, you can see that I have a drop-down list of all the different member methods and variables that is part of that class. I don't have to type it in and worry if I'm getting the spelling incorrect. I can see I have access to the equals function that's inherited from the object, Java-lang object, or I can access these member functions that are straight from the item class. In this case, I just want to use the auto-complete get name. This leads into our next feature of Eclipse, which is quick navigation between classes using hyperlinks. Here, if I hold down the Control key, suddenly all my variables become hyperlinks. I can click on, if I wanted to go to the getName function, all I need to do is hold down the Control key and click on the hyperlink, and it automatically takes me to the getName method of item. If I wanted to go to the constructor, all I need to do is click on the item constructor here, and it'll automatically take me to that constructor here. Quick navigation is a really nice way to navigate back and forth between classes and know what you're calling when you're calling it. Here's where we'll start going into the debug perspective and start debugging. First feature of debug we want to cover is toggling a breakpoint. I want to stop running. I want to stop the debug at a specific point in code. I'll navigate over to the left hand side, right click on the margin, and hit toggle breakpoint. This will tell the code it'll tell Eclipse where to stop when I run the debugger function. Now that I've got a stop breakpoint, I'm going to go over here to the bug icon. This little green bug over here in the upper left hand corner will tell me how to debug. I kick that off and it will change the perspective to here. You can see that we've now moved into the debugging perspective. We've started running the program and we stopped it right at the point where we wanted the debugger to stop here at the breakpoint. Here are the two other features when navigating in debug called step over and step into. These are these are icons right up here at the top. It's either F5 or F6. You can see we can either go do F5 or F6. In this case, if you wanted to step into the function, if we wanted to go in, keep debugging inside the function, we would click on the step into. But for this case, for all intents and purposes, we're going to use the F6 or step over. Here, it's going to ask me to enter in the item's name, which I'm going to say plush dog. Go into the next line. And here, you can see that over here in the expressions pane, I've already pre-filled in a couple variable names like item name and item price. Item price has not been set yet, but you can see the item name now has plush dog. If I wanted to add another variable to the watch list, I will highlight it here in the code, right click on it, and set a watch. That will automatically pop that value up into the expressions pane up here. I'll continue on navigating through. I'm going to set the unit price to 2. Going to set the quantity to 3. When debugging, I can also debug objects. So in this case, I'm going to debug the item object. Here you can see it pops over here in the watch pane, and I'm going to step through and create that object. Now I can explode that value. You can see the member variables of the item object, name, price, and quantity. That concludes the debug section. Let's review what we've covered so far. So, in this video, we've covered the Java view perspective layout in Eclipse. We've covered the basics of creating a new Java project and creating a new class using the wizards in Eclipse. Some of the features we've highlighted is flagging and suggesting corrections when there are errors in your code, auto formatting, which corrects the indentation and the positioning of your code, auto completion, which automatically fills in variables and methods based on putting a period on a class, auto import, quick navigation using hyperlinks, and debugging basics. That concludes the Eclipse overview.